all of these issues are interconnected. Global capitalism, the US military being the enforcer and protector of a system that defies all logic. How could we poison ourselves? How could we sit back and allow these corporations to kill us? And so for me, all the problems are connected to this. It's all through this system, and everyone around the world is suffering under its boot. The US military is completely unparalleled in size. All of those oil purchases go to the ridiculous amount of aircraft, land vehicles, and naval power that we have. It's unparalleled, it's fucking huge, and it's unnecessary, right? I mean, let's just look at aircraft alone. We have a bigger arsenal of aircraft than the next 7 countries combined. But when you look at that, and you're like, oh my God, there's this huge fleet, this huge arsenal. That's insane. And that's just like what's reported, right? The climate emissions make the Pentagon a bigger polluter than 140 countries. But then when you dig into the life cycle emissions, what is it taking in terms of emissions to produce all of these weapons, to ship all of these weapons, to extract all the rare earth minerals and maintain this massive global military empire? Then the number shoots up, way up. And what role is the US military going to play when we enter into this new phase of the climate crisis, right? That's a very dystopian vision, because they're not just going to be deployed all around the world with the increasing, basically the lack of resources and the increasing wars over the depletion of these resources. They're going to be used here at home against us. All the unrest that's going to be happening here around the border with the refugee crisis that's going to exacerbate, the US military, we've seen how they become militarized just in the last 20 years. I was looking at photographs from Oscar Grant protests back in Oakland 20 years ago. The police look quaint. I mean, now they're fucking stormtroopers. That is going to be used on us. I mean, I think oil is the perfect entry point to understanding how the US military is basically the enforcer and protector of global capitalism. Because look at the Middle East, look at the Persian Gulf. Why does the US have bases there? What was Iraq? I mean, that's like a trope we all know and have learned for the last 20 years. The war was quite clearly about oil. Why is the US in Syria? Admittedly protecting the oil fields. Why is the corporate media and US political establishment obsessed with demonizing Venezuela? They have the largest oil reserves in the world. Oh, and also just propping up oil-rich dictatorships, undermining leftist governments that don't acquiesce their natural resources and want to nationalize them. But then when you extrapolate that out, it's everything. It's not just oil, it's every single resource and rare earth mineral. It's finance capital. It's keeping countries on the dollar. It's upholding all of these institutional bodies, from the World Bank to the IMF to these arbitration courts, to keep the developing world underdeveloped at the expense of them to just line the pockets of the very, very few. The US military is quite literally the protector and enforcer of this global system. And it's continuing to keep the entire world hostage at the barrel of a gun.
Listen to our live conversation with Abby Martin anywhere you get your podcasts.